band diagram of the PN junction diode. We discussed the energy band diagram of the PN junction diode. Was it clear to all of you? Was it clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now I just want to discuss a little bit about the, though it does forms a part of the next chapter, but I think it understanding is better if I teach you continuously with this part of the topic. That is, how does this energy band diagram change in forward bias and reverse bias condition? That will give you an idea of the decrease in the width of the depletion region in case of your forward bias, increase in the width of the depletion region in the reverse bias condition, and accordingly the barrier height also decreasing in case of your forward bias situation, and barrier height increasing in case of your reverse bias situation. So I think that is basically, those diagrams are actually part of the next chapter in your Niemann. I'm following Niemann, so would be a part of the next chapter. That is, if it is the hard copy, it's chapter 7. Okay, chapter 7, let me tell you the figures. I'm turning over the pages but not getting the right one. One second, please. Yes, it would be chapter 7, figure 7.1, the first figure that gives you the energy band diagram of the PN junction in zero bias, that is in equilibrium, forward bias and reverse bias. So I would like to discuss this now and then move on to the details of the PN junction, which I could be doing tomorrow. Okay. Acha, tomorrow, let me tell you something. I'll be in college, so I have lesser devices with me, moving out with minimum of the things that is possible, basic essentials, because whatever we carry outside, the problem of sanitization continues. Therefore, I'm not carrying books or things like that, because it's very difficult sanitizing those things. So tomorrow, Devapriya, will you be there? Devapriya, tomorrow are you attending the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tomorrow you remain prepared with that PDF version of the PN junction, so that you could share it on screen and I would keep on explaining. Okay, so that I'll be teaching you directly from the book. That is chapter 6 of your hard copy. I think it will be chapter 7 of your soft copy. Just do a 5-minute PN junction, the PN junction, chapter number 6 in your hard copy. Okay, it would be, I think, chapter number 7 in your soft copy. I think the soft copy is a version advanced than the book. Okay, you just give it a check so that you get ready with that chapter.
It's chapter
and
7.
tomorrow, it's chapter 7, right? So chapter 7, we would go into the details of that, equations and things like that. So I think it'll be easier if we just directly share the PDF and I would be explaining. Okay, so tomorrow deal pakka? ठीक है तो?
Yes,
Okay, fine. So I start with the এবার কি টেক্সট করছে আমি দেখার সময় নেই, চ্যাট দেখার আমার সময় থাকে না, আর 2 নম্বর হচ্ছে স্ক্রিন শাফল করতে হয় if I am using a whiteboard. So if you are writing anything to me, if you are writing to your friends, fine, but if you are writing anything to me,
সবাই অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স গুলো দিচ্ছিল,
অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স গুলো কিসে দিচ্ছিল?
চ্যাটে সবাই লিখছিল আর কি, মানে আপনি তখন বলছিলেন তাই একবার চ্যাটেও লিখে দিচ্ছিল
আজকের অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স গুলো। কিন্তু চ্যাটে না আমার পড়াতে পড়াতে হোয়াইট বোর্ড থাকলে না স্ন্যাপশট নেওয়াটা খুব ডিফিকাল্ট হয়। মানে সুনেত্রা সৌরভ যে স্ন্যাপশটটা নেয়, দ্যাট ইজ বেসিক্যালি দ্য পার্টিসিপেন্ট লিস্ট, ঠিক আছে? সেখানেই যদি তার পাশে তোমার রোল নাম্বারটা দেওয়া থাকে তোমার লগ ইন নেমে, তাহলে কি হয়, আমি জেনারেলি আমি ধরো 1-2 সপ্তাহ বাদে বসে আমি ওই অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স গুলোকে আপডেট করি, ঠিক আছে? তখন ওই রোল নাম্বারটা থাকতে খুব সুবিধে হয়, নাহলে আমার খাটনি বেশি হয়ে যায়। সিন্স আই হ্যাভ স্টার্টেড ইন আ ভেরি হ্যাফাজার্ড ম্যানার।
আমার রোল নাম্বারটা এখনো আসেনি। হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, যাদের রোল নাম্বার তোমরা ল্যাটারাল বা বা স্ট্রিম চেঞ্জ আসোনি, টু এভরিওয়ান ডোন্ট রাইট ইওর রোল নাম্বার, সব লিখে চলেছে, দেখো মজা করছে। ঠিক আছে, যা পারো লেখো, লিখলে আবার আমার হোয়াইট বোর্ডে চলে আসে, ওটা আবার একটু বিরক্তিকর, তো ডোন্ট রাইট আননেসেসারি থিংস, ঠিক আছে? Chalo, let's start. So I'm recapping the PN junction because I will have to move from here. So this is the EF, the Fermi energy level, the Fermi extrinsic Fermi energy level, and it must maintain a constant level throughout the PN junction. So this is the unbiased situation that I'm drawing. So for the P side, if this is the P side and this is the N side, here EV will be closer to the to the Fermi energy level, okay, and EC will be lying higher up. EC will be lying higher up. In case of your N side, it will be the EC lying more closer to the okay, EC lying. So I think it's more specific if I use these terms. EVP, valence band for the P side, ECP, this is ECN, okay, and this is the valence band EVN. So that becomes more comprehensive. So that is the PN junction energy band diagram situation. And if we join them, we have this staircase type of a diagram. And if I draw vertical lines, drop down vertical lines, this is the width of your depletion region W. This is the width of your depletion region. And this height, we call it EVBI, as we said in the previous class. This is EVBI, okay, EVBI, okay, EVBI, that is the barrier height. Okay, that was the barrier height. And if I draw the intrinsic Fermi energy level, that is midway between both the cases. So it goes somewhat like this. So this is for the unbiased situation or zero applied bias, or the PN junction unbiased situation or zero applied bias. Is it clear, students? Responses?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay, fine. Now
Yeah,
I
ma'am,
will,
clear.
yeah. Now I will make a mess of this diagram. In the book, 3 separate diagrams are given. You'll refer to 7.1 from your hard copy, or if it's your soft copy, it's chapter 8.1 diagram. You'll see that the 3 diagrams for zero bias, forward bias, and reverse bias are given in 3 separate diagrams. But I think if I scribble on the same diagram, understanding becomes easier. That is what I feel as a student. Let's see. You see the separate diagram from the book. Maybe tomorrow when they will be sharing the screen, I could show it to you. Today, you just follow what I'm telling you. Now, what happens in the forward bias situation? When you are applying a forward bias, what happens? What happens? I'm asking you. What happens? What happens? What happens?
And the width decreases.
The first, if we start from this notion that, fine, you can start from anywhere. So first, if I think that the depletion width decreases. So if the depletion width decreases, let me draw a vertical line in this purple color. I'm using pen so that it becomes broad. So let us think that you're applying a certain value of the forward bias voltage and the depletion width decreases. Okay, so this purple vertical line that I have drawn, suppose this width that we have is called, this is W, this was W, this was this is say WF, F stands for forward bias. So what happens? This is the way it makes remembrance very easy. So depletion width has decreased to WF. WF is less than W. Okay. Now, therefore, you must make the energy band diagram continuous. So if you see the purple line and if you see this black line, you see that they are a distance apart, and it is making these energy bands, this energy band's discontinuous. Okay, if you think with respect to the purple line, so what should happen? So what should happen? I'm using blue and pen. So what happens, strictly speaking, if they have to be continuous, then okay, so if this blue line, or better, I make it purple, I'll use blue for reverse bias, I'll just erase it. Okay, so you see the purple diagram, the purple lines, left hand side or the P side remains as usual. What happens? We are just saying the relative change. What happens is that this E, I'm rubbing out things to draw it, redraw them. আচ্ছা এক কাজ করি, so this was the extrinsic Fermi level in the unbiased situation, that black line. Okay, that black line. Now, whenever you are applying a forward biased, this is a forward bias junction. Forward bias junction. Depletion width has decreased to WF. So accordingly, there is a relative shift of the ECN upwards. You see, ECN has moved upwards, and accordingly, here, since the equilibrium has been disrupted, Fermi energy level, the extrinsic Fermi energy level, will also not maintain a single level, and EF in this situation, EF in forward bias, I'm writing as EFF for your understanding. EFF in forward bias situation has moved up here. Okay, we call it, rather in the book it's written EFN, আমি সেটাই লিখছি so that it doesn't create confusion. Actually diagrams গুলো বোঝাতে একটু টাইম লাগে. EFN, okay, EFN, and it has moved up, and this vertical level which was there, this becomes your EFP. This becomes your EFP, the original one, and therefore you see what happens. This vertical, this horizontal line, which I removed right now, what was the status of that line? That was the horizontal line giving you the extrinsic Fermi level in equilibrium or in zero bias condition when no biasing was applied to the PN junction. That the moment you apply a forward bias, look, EFN, why it has moved up, I'll explain. And this one remains as EFP. Okay, so in the now let's come back to this diagram. Concentrating on this forward bias situation, what happens the moment you apply a forward bias? This depletion width has decreased. This depletion width has decreased from what it was before. It was this earlier, so now it has decreased in magnitude. So in order for the energy band diagram to be continuous, you see now the energy band diagram, if I make it full purple, it is this, and it is this, and it is this, and the extrinsic Fermi energy level. Now what happens? The extrinsic Fermi, since the conduction band has moved up in case of the n side, the distance between, since the carrier concentration, you know that the distance between EC and EF, that is the edge of the conduction band or the bottom level of the conduction band, and the extrinsic Fermi energy level, the distance between two levels is function of the doping concentration ND. It is function of the doping concentration ND. So when there is flow, there is application of forward bias, the ND or the doping concentration doesn't change. Therefore, the distance between EC N and EF must remain as it was before. So since the depletion width is decreasing and the energy band diagram has to be continuous, what we see that EFN moves up. Initially it was this red line, now it is this purple line, it has moved up. So accordingly, even EFN will move up compared to its previous position, which was somewhere over here. Okay, so it has also to move up proportionately to maintain the distance between the bottom of the conduction band and EF. So it has moved up. Whereas in the P side, things remain as it is because we are drawing the relative energy band diagram where we are just taking up the N side with respect to your energy level. So what happens, you see, this is now this purple diagram now that we have drawn with EFN moved up and EFP lying below, with EFN moved up, with EFN moved up, this is EFN moved up and EFP lying over here, and this is the width of the depletion region, this is the width of the depletion region, is the energy band diagram in forward bias conditions. So in the previous case, you see, in the previous case, this was EFN. Okay, this was uh, from this red line to here, from this line to here was EVBI, or the barrier height. Initially that was the barrier height. Now since the depletion width has decreased and you are maintaining a continuous energy band diagram, what is the depletion barrier potential? It is this, only this much, only this much, only this much. So you see that is EVBI. So you see that the barrier height has decreased compared to the unbiased condition. Therefore, when you're applying a forward bias, there is a decrease in the value of the depletion region, you know, for reasons why, and also as a consequence of which the barrier height is decreased, or it is vice versa. Because the barrier height is decreased, the depletion width is decreased, or because the depletion width is decreased, both are related. So when you are doing it in terms of a diagram, I think if you draw a lesser value of the depletion width and complete the energy band diagram by making it complete, it is giving you an automatic idea of how the barrier height is decreasing, and if VA is the magnitude of the forward bias voltage applied, then barrier height is given by E into VBI minus VA. VBI was an unbiased situation, minus VA. VA is the amount of applied forward bias potential. Okay, forward bias potential. So we'll discuss charge flow later. So this is the, so since this barrier height is decreased from, it was EVBI before, now it is EVBI minus VA. So barrier height is decreased. So in forward bias condition, electrons will only have to move a little bit upwards in energy hill from the N side to the P side. Okay, and there will be flow of current. That we'll come to later again when we go into for the PN junction diode. Now I'm just discussing the PN junction. Okay, so that is the energy band diagram of the PN junction in forward bias situation. Is it clear, students? Is it clear, students? Is it clear, students?
Ma'am,
Bolo.
ma'am, can you please repeat that part where suppose in this is a continuous diagram, ma'am.
বলো তুমি বলো আমি শুনছি।
Then EF first of all, when no change is there in EFP, but there is change in EFN. Then ma'am,
না 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 আমি বলি তোমাকে, না আমি there is no change in EFP or EFN না. Actually when the diagram when the situation is unbiased, যখন situation unbiased, okay, then the system is in equilibrium and the extrinsic, we'll discuss that tomorrow again. The extrinsic Fermi level was maintaining a constant level throughout the diagram. Let me destroy this diagram. Okay, so that was this level. Got it, Rahul? So that was this level. Got
yes
it?
ma'am.
Fine. Okay, fine. So the moment when the moment when you're applying a bias, be it forward bias, be it reverse bias, you are forcibly breaking the equilibrium, okay, which the PN junction had set on its own by the process of diffusion. Okay, so you are disrupting that you are giving an external force. You have your own system, you are standing, you are in equilibrium, somebody comes and slaps you. So what happened? You are getting energized and then you react in different way, which is not your normal, so you have lost your equilibrium. So that is also happened with the PN junction. It is losing its equilibrium, means it will Fermi energy level, this extrinsic Fermi energy level will now no longer maintain a constant level throughout the PN junction. Okay, it will no longer maintain a constant level throughout the PN junction. What is happening? Since you have to make this energy band diagram continuous, what happens? Relatively, whatever position was there, destroying the diagram terribly, making it red. See, this was the position of EFP on the P side. So we do not, we just show relative motion. What happens? Since the barrier height is decreased over here, automatically this conduction band moves up. This conduction band moves up from here to here. From here to here, conduction band moves up, and automatically EFN also moves up from here to this place. Okay, also moves up. So as if there is a split in the extrinsic Fermi level, there is a split in the extrinsic Fermi level over here, and in order to maintain the distances between the edge of the conduction band and the Fermi energy level, and the edge of the valence band and the Fermi energy level, relative motion of the Fermi energy level takes place from the situation in unbiased condition. Did you get it, Rahul?
Okay ma'am, okay ma'am, now I get it.
Now you
Yes
got
ma'am.
it. মানে তুমি
Yes ma'am.
বাঁ দিকটা ফিক্স রেখে দিচ্ছ, মানে তোমার
হ্যাঁ।
যে কোনো মোশন মানে মুভ মানে চেঞ্জেই তুমি দুদিকেই তুমি যদি মুভ করাও তাহলে কিন্তু তোমার এফেক্টটা উইল বি মোর কনফিউজিং। সো পি সাইডটাকে আমরা ইনট্যাক্ট রেখে দিচ্ছি, আর বাঁ দিকটা ইনট্যাক্ট রেখে ডান দিকটা এন সাইডে উই আর মেকিং দ্য রিলেটিভ মোশন। একই তুমি করতে পারতে, মানে তুমি এন সাইডটাকে ফিক্স রেখে ডান দিকটা মুভ করতে পারতে, দ্যাট অলসো কুড হ্যাভ বিন ডান, কিন্তু একটুখানি বোঝাটা ডিফিকাল্ট হয়ে যায়। সো দ্যাট ইজ দ্য ওয়ে দে ডু ইট ইন দ্য বুক অলসো, ইভেন আই কিপ ফলোইং ইট। ঠিক আছে, আমার
Okay
মনে
ma'am.
হয় it's 6:52 reverse bias kalke kore we'll move on to the equations. Ajke it was a short class, never mind. But others, did you get it? Others, did you get it? I made a mess with the diagram. I knew I would do it, I always do it, but tomorrow again we will give a brief recap if you have any queries. Okay, তো ঠিক আছে, কালকে আমি কি 50 minutes ক্লাস রাখবো তোমাদের? কি 12টা থেকে বা 1টা থেকে আর কোনো ক্লাস নেই? Or 50 minutes classes. So tomorrow I'll set a 50 minutes class. Okay, I'll send you the link today itself. Okay, after today's class. Okay, fine then. You may leave. Attendance to be taken. Sunetra and Saurav, thank you. অন্য কারোর কিছু query থাকলে you go through it. You go through the books. There are 45 people. You go through the book. Maybe you can ask me questions tomorrow if you at all have any doubts. Okay. Okay, thank you. Ending the meeting. Attendance দিয়ে দিও, upload করে দিও.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you may leave. I'm ending the meeting. You have again class at 7. Get refreshed, tea and coffee, and then back to class. Good night.